Hi folks, I'm Paul. Welcome to my channel. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Today I wanted to show you what I did to this blast cabinet to make it more useful. I recently got it. It's a Harbor Freight or a Princess Auto up here in Canada. Blast cabinet, they're basically the same. It's an offshore rig. It's made relatively inexpensively, but with a few modifications, it ends up being pretty good. I wanted to show you what I did to it. The first thing I did is I was putting it together. They give you this foam tape that you can use to seal the joints, but I didn't feel that was going to do a good job. So I ended up using caulking on all the joints. I put it tending towards the inside of the cabinet so I wouldn't show on the outside here, but on the inside, yeah, you can see it there in the back corners there. There's a caulking on the inside. I put it in as I was putting it together, and then screwed it all together, and it does a much better job than that foam tape of holding it tight. That it's not that it's not all dusty outside. I just use an acrylic caulk, which I think would be better than silicone. Another improvement I made was with the lighting. There's an optional fluorescent light that comes with the cabinet, and I got rid of that or didn't take that, and I put in these two fluorescent lights. They're two. I put in two fixtures, exterior fixtures with a seal here behind the bulb, and then used extreme duty incandescent light bulbs in there. I like the incandescent partly because partly because they give off heat, which is nice to keep your media nice and dry. And also they're extreme service too, so and they're frosted, so they give a nice light as well. And you can see here on the inside, they give a really nice light to what you're trying to do. Here I just drilled two holes, one here for the light, and the other light in the other corner is back here. And I wired them together, and I put them together to a switch here. And the switch, I have one of these duplex switches with a switch and a plug. And I have this plug switch with the light switch, so that I can plug my shop vac into here, so that whenever the light's on, that I can just switch the shop vac on and off with it as well. And then it just this thing just plugs into the wall. So that's a convenient way to have the light and the vacuum coming on at the same time. Here's an improvement I made in the inside for the blast gun. There's a blast gun here. It's always handy to have separate air, just clean air inside the cabinet, so you can blow off your parts before you open it up and take them out. I found this at the local discount tool store. It's just an inline air gun, so I can blow off the parts just before I take them out. You can put a separate line in as well, but then you got to tee your air line and have separate hose and more stuff inside the cabinet, which is always in the way. So this is a really easy way just to get clean air inside there as well. Here I made a connection to my shop vac system. You have to find some way to get for whatever is coming out of the blast cabinet to your vacuum line, whatever size that is or whatever shape it is. I found it a 2-inch PVC fitting, threaded, would fit in here if I filed off some of the threads. So I did that, and from there it was easy to get to my 1.5-inch PVC that I made my vacuum system with. So it comes out of there, goes down into my dust separator there with a thin baffle that I talked about in another video, and then out to my shop vac. One of the other improvements I made and that I thought I needed to have was that a couple of things. One was that my shop's pretty small, so I want to be able to, everything's got to be movable, and I can get out of the way or move it outside if I need the space. And the other problem is that this thing is a bit low for me to stand here like this for extended periods of time. So I wanted it a bit higher as well. So I thought, you know what, I'll put it on rollers, and I can make a shelf underneath it for the media and all that sort of stuff. So this is what I built for the the cart for it to roll around on. I just had some 1-inch square stock lying around. So I just built it out of that, made it a little bit bigger than the outside of the cabinet, and just used casters with threaded stubs on them that I easily to thread on. And then I just welded on some little pieces of angle iron here that would fit on the inside of the angle iron frame on the cabinet. And then to actually make the shelf, I just used that piece of plywood, and that allowed me to have a shelf to put my shop vac and media and all that, and the dust collector on there as well. And that's how it fits there on top of the dolly. One of the things that they give you on this blast cabinet is these tearaway plastic covers for the inside of the glass to protect the glass, which is great. But the problem is to try and change these is almost impossible without taking the glass out. You have to reach way down over there to get them out, and then if you take the glass out, this thing is held in with screws and nuts on the bottom and washers and everything else, and try and put that together all the way over there at the bottom as you're trying not to drop stuff into your media and everything is almost impossible. So what I did, instead of the nuts and the washers that go on the inside, is that I used this Nutsert tool. Basically, it puts up a captive nut in if you never worked with them before. So I drilled the holes out to the right size here. I think it was slightly smaller than a quarter. And these things get inserted in like that, and it's basically just a rivet with a thread on the inside there, and you end up with these beautiful Nutserts they're called. Anyway, you got a thread there, and you don't have to worry about it. It's a captive nut, and you just thread them in. But the one thing I found that you really have to do, or the cabinet just doesn't work at all, is change the pickup tube that they have in there. The way that it comes from the factory, in my case anyway, was 2 tubes that are sort of light fitting. This is where this is the suction side of the system of the tube, and this goes up to your gun. And these are fitting loosely, so air is supposed to be able to come down bleed through the top, through here on the outside of the inner tube, come here to the bottom and feed around the corner, around the end, and help to fluidize the media as it's sucked up. Well, the trouble is this gets plugged up, and then a big slug of media goes up and it plugs the tube, and it doesn't. And anyway, the gun gets plugged. So as a lot of people have made modifications here, what I did was the 2-tube system. It ends up like this. It's just 2 pieces of light wall EMT conduit. You have your air bleed one coming down the outside here. Your air comes in here, goes down. You got a hole, 5/16 holes drilled between the 2 tubes to be able to feed air from this tube into your suction tube. Your media goes up here. This is plugged off, so this can't get plugged. The media comes up here, and there's also a bleed hole at the top here, which I believe also helps to control the amount of vacuum. If there's too much vacuum, you get too much media, and then it plugs the tube. So I believe the purpose of this hole is to help to fluidize the media as well, but also to, you can see it there, also to reduce the amount of vacuum. So you got two big holes here that are coming across between the 2 tubes. Air comes down here, in here, and as the media gets sucked up, air gets sucked in as well, and then up into your gun. And I'll show you how I built that. So I started out with just 2 18-inch pieces approximately of light wall EMT conduit. This is the same size that the vacuum hose, or the hose that the vacuum hose that goes up to the gun is. And the air bleed hose will squeeze off the end here in the vise. There you go. You could squeeze it any way you want to. You could smack it with a hammer. You could fill it with something, whatever you like. But I find that this works well for me. Now I'm going to have to, I weld these two together. They don't have to be welded. They could be, you could put a couple of pipe clamps around here if you don't have, welder or you don't have that capabilities. Welding works great. You could use a hot melt glue gun too, probably. That would probably work well too. Or you could probably tape them if you do a good job of that. Since it's EMT, it's coated with a galvanizing, with a plating. Welding doesn't like that, and it's certainly not good to breathe it. So I'm going to just take the plating off with my flapper wheel on a grinder, and then it's down to bare metal, and I can weld that. And there it is, welded together. Yeah, again, this is, the gases that are given off, when you weld this are poisonous. So try and take as much of the plating off as you can, and certainly don't stand in the smoke when it comes off here. Try and stand downwind. So anyway, now we have to drill holes through, through here, to try and get a hole in between the two tubes here. So we're going to drill a hole through the 3 layers, this one, and this one, and don't go through this side, or if you do, you have to plug it up again afterwards. And we're going to drill a 1/8 hole at the top of this tube into there. So a pilot drill, and then a 5/16 through this, through 3 sides of this. It ends up being that's not critical, about 2 inches up from the bottom of this tube here. like that a bit better. And then a 1/8 hole here into the suction tube, just at the top of the bleed tube here. So that's basically finished now. You do have an extra hole here which you have to plug up. I just use foil tape on that, and I put the holes lined up with this weld here. You can do that or not do that. Basically, yeah, you have to. If you don't get it like this, then you have to plug that up so that sand doesn't bleed into your air tube or anything. So you have to sort of seal that up. And I've used a hot melt glue gun at in the future, or in the previous one that I built, and that works fine. So you just fill this here in with hot melt glue gun. But I just have to plug this up now, and we're good. And that's it. And this goes in your sand, obviously. Sucks up here, gets a little bit of air here to help move it up. And then this is another bleed hole here to introduce some air. Vacuum hose on there, and it works great. Supplies lots of media to the gun, and it doesn't surge or plug up. So it's good. Well, that's it, folks. Hope you found that interesting or helpful. As you see, you can make some pretty quick and easy changes, and makes this thing way more convenient and useful. Yeah, if you like it, please, drill, subscribe, like it, leave a comment. I appreciate that, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.